Hello, everyone, and welcome to Soundscape and Mindful Meditation, where we explore the transformative power of meditation, sound healing, mindfulness, and spirituality. I am Amandine, your guide on this journey toward inner balance and harmony. Each episode is crafted to bring you moments of tranquility or reflection. Whether you're seeking relaxation, stress relief, or a path to self discovery, this is the place for you. And in today's episode, we bring the light on the story of an amazing spirit, Trent, whose tale is not just one of survival, but of thriving against all odds. Trent is an international entrepreneur and he stands tall as a three-time cancer conqueror. His battles have not just been physical, but also mental and emotional, wherein meditation and steadfast reshaping of mindsets and faith have been his powerful allies. A very inspiring story that I'm so happy and excited to share with you. In our profound dialogue, Trent unraveled the narrative of his incredible journey and the transformation of his inner voice, inner dialogue, and also the meditative practices, that have catalyzed his healing and success. So I invite you to embark on this odyssey with us as Trent shares the essence of resilience, the alchemy of mindset, an invaluable lesson learned on the frontier of life's greatest challenges. Hello. All right. So thank you so much, Trent, for being here and for
Sure.
wanting to share your story.
My pleasure. It's good
Um,
to be here.
Nice. So everyone, this is Trent Brock, an international entrepreneur, to what I understand. But this is not your main thing that you're known for. Maybe you're a three-time terminal cancer recovered fighter. I would call you.
That works. That works.
And you know what? I want you to present yourself because,
Okay.
besides saying that you are an inspiration for perseverance and finding inner strength, I feel
hmm
like only you can share, a little bit briefly of where you're coming from in your journey before
Sure.
we really dive in.
Okay. No problem. I'm originally from the U.S. And when I graduated from college, I started out working in IT. So I worked all over the states on big corporate projects installing IT systems. I did that in the states. Then I started doing that worldwide, and I ended up at the bottom end of the world in the little country of New Zealand. So I wanted to travel and I wanted to go somewhere else, and so I ended up there. Well, about 4 or 5 years into it, I met some American guys in the boxing gym, just training, and they were training for some fights. And I kind of got to know their manager, all Americans from the state of Washington. And this guy was a serial entrepreneur, and he did craft market kettle corn popcorn like outdoors at major events and things like that. And we kind of started talking about it and discovered they didn't have kettle corn in New Zealand. And, kettle corn is that salty sweet product that everybody knows if they've ever gone to a craft fair or a show or an event in the States. So we looked around and it wasn't there. It wasn't in any of the outdoor markets. It wasn't in the supermarket shelves. And I just had a hunch that it was going to work. And so we started a business on the weekends. And this thing grew over 14 years to be the second largest popcorn in the country. We started out on the weekends, just going out doing local stuff. And kind of over a few years, we transferred into being a manufacturing plant. And I just sold the business about a month ago, but we were in business 14 years. I had two factories, four popcorn lines. We could do like up to 40,000 popcorn bags a day. We serviced all of New Zealand, Asian countries, the Middle East, and stuff like that. So, it ended up being a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, that's kind of to kind of connect the, well, this guy sounds American, but he was in New Zealand, so that kind of puts those two things together. Yeah,
Hey,
for
no
people.
judgment on accents. I'm a French person who's been living in the US, so I am all
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Yes.
right. Well, I in between all that, I stopped in Spain for a year to kind of take a break, and I taught English for a year, which was really cool. Kind of tutored people,
Nice.
and I tried to learn Spanish. It was a disaster. I mean, I couldn't get it. I studied. It's the second hardest thing I've ever tried to do. The first hardest thing was the business, right? Yeah. So yeah.
I hear
Anyways,
you. I've lived in
well,
Japan. I've had to learn to
oh,
speak Japanese, and yes,
what?
it's a challenge to learn a new language.
You know what? I have found that what I noticed is, females are better at learning languages than men, and kind of the younger generation is better than the older. And guy, if you've already been in touch with some languages, then it's easier to learn more. Yeah, here in the U.S., I mean, we're kind of tunnel vision. It's just English, right, or nothing. I mean, the Spanish is coming. The Spanish is coming. So, I wanted to try to be ahead, but yeah. Well, anyways, so I can get around. I can do my thing. Um, but yeah,
But I wanted
I
to
wouldn't.
ask you.
Yeah,
So you've shared an impressive, story of, your entrepreneur life.
yeah,
But obviously you had some blockages along the way, health wise.
yeah,
When
yes,
did it happen, and how,
sure,
yeah, how did that unfold in your life?
sure. So, I'm just working away in popcorn heaven. I mean, that was my main thing. I don't have kids or a family. That was my baby. So, I spent a lot of time. I've spent most of my time in popcorn heaven. So, um, in the spring of 2019, I started limping around the factory. And I went to several doctors, and they all kind of came up with the same thing. You have a torn butt muscle from picking up something heavy, probably. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, it just wasn't getting better. And I had to go into the hospital to get some blood work done. And the doc said, "Look, Trent, we're going to get an x ray. Something's wrong, and it's not that, a torn muscle." Okay, whatever. Well, about a week later, she calls me. I'm on my way to lunch, taking my lunch break, and I got that call. And it's the
Mhm.
call that changed my life, which was, you have aggressive hip bone cancer. Every step that you take, you're in danger of breaking your leg. I had about a quarter inch of bone holding my leg on. If you break your leg, it's coming off. We will amputate it. Get to the hospital right now. Okay.
Wow.
So this is public health care. And anything with the government, the cool thing about it is the services are usually free, but they are average and they take a long time. And so that's the same way with healthcare in New Zealand. So the plan was to put an implant in. Well, the third time, so they would start to create the implant. A couple months later, we're going to put it in. Well, it wouldn't fit because the cancer had progressed. So the third time, they said, we need to cut the leg off. Well, I lost it, and my dad, my parents were on the phone. I had learned after a series of appointments and things, you need to have someone there with you to listen, to understand, because a lot of times, I was dealing with life and death and losing a limb situation, and you hear what the doctor says the first two or three sentences, and then you black out, and you've talked about this stuff and you don't remember. So I've learned that's a little tidbit. If you're going for something to the doctor, take someone with you, right? So my
Yeah,
dad stepped
my,
in.
my husband had the cancer, and she shared exactly the same thing. He was like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, we were trying to find something that from those days," and he was like, "Oh, I completely spaced out what he said. I don't remember." And yeah,
Hmm.
I like your advice. You bring somebody with you.
Yeah, right. Or if you can, you record the conversation, or something, right? You got something. Okay, so my dad stepped in and he said, "Look, you don't know Trent like I do. He's a fighter. He's not a quitter. You leave that leg, he will make it work." And the doctor said, "Well, it'll be the 1 out of 100 that we leave the leg. We cut the leg off like this. I'm not guaranteeing functionality, feeling. It's going to be shorter than the other, and he will be handicapped the rest of his life. He'll be in a wheelchair or crutches. That's it." And my dad said, "We don't care. Leave the leg." So he left the leg, and the surgery was successful. But I got an infection. So
Mm.
Yeah, it was a chronic bad infection that lasted 2 years, over 2 years. Um, so we did several surgeries. We did that. We did the IV antibiotics. We did all that stuff. Didn't work. 4 months in the hospital. I get out. I'm good enough to get out. My parents went home, and so now I'm kind of in the system, right? So just to give you an idea, I like to show a few a few visual aids. So this is my actual pelvis. So this would be the normal size. The normal size.
Hmm.
This is what they removed. All of that.
Wow.
And the cool thing is they put a little wire there, okay, to help the leg from migrating up. Okay. So back to work. Next scan, you have pancreatic and lung cancer. Well, COVID hit and they locked us down like, animals at the zoo. And it
Hmm.
was tough. No one's coming in, no one's coming out. I had no family there, nothing. So I had the pancreatic surgery and that went well. But when they told me the results, bittersweet outcome. It was a misdiagnosis. They thought it was a tumor. It turned out to be a blood clot. So they removed half of my pancreas and spleen for nothing. And I had requested a biopsy to make sure, and they wouldn't do it. So they just said, "Look, you've got cancer. You've had the leg. You've got it in the hip. You have it. You had it in the lung. It's cancer." Okay, well, so I beat the cancer. But now, I've got health issues from that, right? I mean, God wouldn't have given you those things if you didn't need them. Okay,
Hmm.
so, all right, let's focus on the positive. Well, the next thing was the lung cancer. So they removed one of my lobes. We got the cancer, but that got infected. And the orthopedic surgeon found out that I was in the hospital, and I had decided, these guys have had enough chances. I'm not dealing with them anymore. And I knew it was still infected. It was immense. It was immense pain, horrible pain. Um, and the orthopedic came in when I was under, the anesthesia and the pain medicine from the lung thing, and he said, "Look, the wire that we put in is causing the infection. We're taking it out." I had no family there. Couldn't have any visitors in the hospital. Well, I just kind of agreed. I didn't want to do it, but I was just whatever. Okay,
Hmm.
so they had a junior surgeon do the surgery, and he botched it up really bad. He caused bladder issues, where I frequently think I have to take a pee when I don't, and then it caused a surgical hernia, and so this is, I just kind of like to show this. This is my hip, okay? So it grew up. You can see this is like where the whole incision was. It eventually grew up. They didn't think that was ever going to happen, and this is my intestine. Okay. So I haven't really had any issues, but visually it's very ugly. And if something I ever get hit there, it could be a major issue. The other thing was that now we didn't have anything to stop the leg. So this is what my leg eventually looked like. So it should have been
Hmm.
there, and the leg bone moved up all the way to
Ay,
there.
ay,
Okay.
ay.
Right. And so this is the shoe that I ended up having to wear. This big of a croc. Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
that's 4.25 inches, which is over a
So
hundred
it looks kind of
millimeters.
fashionable according to this year's
Yeah.
trends.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? I saw an opportunity. I'm the guy that started the platform shoe fad, and everyone, and the next question is, well, how did you make a lot of money? I made millions. I made millions, right? Yeah. So, anyways, um, so we had those surgeries. 2 weeks turned into 2.5 months. And we got over that. And so, back to work. And I never stopped working the whole time. I would have people come in, to the hospital and went back when they could. And,
Mm,
I just still ran my business. It was actually kind of my safe place to get away
nice.
from everything, right? It was able to take my mind off all my health
Yeah.
issues.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask because what you've shared so far would make most people completely mad.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about, like things that lasted years and
Oh, yeah.
issues after others. It's not just at this point the sickness, it's also how you're being treated.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
uh,
Oh yeah.
you mentioned that your work was a place, where it allowed you to release. But I also
Yep.
wanted to ask you if you could share with us the role of spirituality or faith,
Yep.
and how it played, in that journey.
Okay. Okay. So I'll lead into that, but let me tell you this part first.
Okay.
Okay. So on the next scan, I really did have pancreas cancer.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Yeah, this time I really did have it. They promised me. So I demanded a biopsy, okay? And when they found it, it was the size of a couple of like nickels, coins on its side. That's how small it was. Well, I want, the appointments are like every month, couple of months. Had to get the biopsy scheduled after 4 or 5 months. It turned into a tennis ball. It was that big. It was growing into my stomach. I went to a private doctor because I knew my time was running out. I was losing weight. I couldn't eat. I was dying. I was literally dying.
Yeah.
Pancreatic cancer with treatment is less than a 5% chance survival. Okay. Um, so the private guy said, look, hey, we can't do anything for you. It's too far gone. I won't do surgery. It's too risky. I won't do anything. They're all too risky. And so you can just go home. And I was like, so wait to die? And he said, I can't help you, Trent. You know. And I'm like, okay. So
And that's not
I
risky.
begin. Oh yeah, I begin to spiral.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure. And so then one day after an appointment with the other pancreatic doctor in the public hospital, I was on the phone with my folks, and I heard this hopelessness and this despair, and that their son's dying halfway across the world and they can't do anything. And I made a decision right then. I said, you know what? I'm going to fight this thing. I'm going to do everything I can. I've kind of just been plodding along, going along with what was going on, a couple years. And I just kept thinking, well, like this is the last time. Oh my gosh, all over again. No, this is the last time. And I made a decision at that point and I started making changes. So obviously, I had to change my diet. I changed my exercise, and the biggest two things for me were my mindset and my spirituality. So I'm a Christian, and I believe in the Bible and I believe in God and those kind of things. And so I'll tell you, when you think you're going to go to heaven and meet God soon, you start talking to Him a lot. And I mean, right? You want to let them
Yeah.
know your
Even
problems
when you were
from.
not believing before, you're starting to believe. Yeah.
Well, I was always raised a Christian, and then this thing kind of just, I mean, when you have no other options, right? So, um, for me, the mindset thing was really difficult to change. And so, I started looking and I'm like, I can't do anything else here. I'm going to have to go to the States. I'm going to have to. And I didn't think I could get insurance, and we figured out a way to get some affordable insurance. So I showed up here. And I got, I went to a local doctor and we did some radiation, and the the tumor ended up being that big when they did the radiation. So it cured it, and then I did some immunotherapy to prevent anything spreading metastatically in the future. But during that time, I was working on my mindset and I was working on my spirituality and my diet and my exercise. To me, those things are okay. Those are more of, do I have the self discipline to do my diet, to do the exercise, to do those things that I need to do? For me, the spirituality and the mindset, right? It was so hard for me to turn my mindset around with all these doctors. I had 5 surgeons tell me, you're gonna, you're gonna die. I have a report saying you're dead in a year. How am I going to change this? So I began to find people on the internet, in a book, anywhere, anything, right, that had beaten this, and how had they done it? And my thought process was, if they can do it, I can do it, because I'm going to do all the things. Okay, I'm going to change everything in these areas. If you want a big change, if you want a big result, you have to make big changes, right? And so, my if I wasn't at work, my focus was I was doing something to better my chances to beat the cancer. I just kept thinking, if I just can win today, then Um, I put enough winning days in a row together, we can beat this. And I changed my mindset in the fact that, like, you've got a 5% chance to live. No, actually, I've got 5 chances. One, two, three, four, five. Okay. So I got 5 goes at this. We only need one. You only got one life. So I'm ahead. I'm actually, I've got a really good chance. And I begin
That I
to,
love,
um,
sorry,
you,
I just wanted to
that's
say
okay.
that
Go ahead.
I love your mindset. As you know, meditation teacher, I always teach that gratefulness is the most powerful energy to unlock. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you had 5% and you managed to turn those, instead of looking from a doom, you looked at it with gratefulness. I have five. That's four more. I love it. So thank you. Thank you
One
for
more
that.
than I need. Right. So yeah, the meditation was a big part of that for me. Um, the local cancer society had, you couldn't even go see anyone. You had to do it, remotely. And the counselor that I was seeing, she gave me some meditations, and a couple of them that worked really well for me was, um, the one where it's leaves by a river. Okay. And another one is, you envision yourself as a tree. Okay. And those worked well for me. I actually kind of used both of them. Have you heard of these meditations by chance?
Not necessarily
These,
those one, but
okay.
yes, like connecting as
Okay.
part of nature. Yes. And it's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of use those together. Right. So, the thing is, just to kind of give people a little summary of it, you're you're a tree, by a river, and you need the water from the river to grow. And, there's all the seasons, and, you're going to go through the changes with the seasons, and you're going to shed, your problems or your issues. And those are the leaves. So when the leaves fall off, that's when you begin to lose your problems, right? And I like the thing with the tree is, you can endure the weather, you bend, but you don't break. And the deeper you plant your roots, the more grounded you are. So with the leaves thing, when the leaves fall off, they get blown into the river. Down the river they go, and they're gone. And so I would envision that I had these little cancer cells in a leaf going down the river, and they would just fade away. And at the end of my river is Niagara Falls. So when those things go over Niagara Falls, they are smashed, gone. And you know what? If I try to tell people, if you've never done meditation, you don't realize. I mean, it's not such a common thing, right? And the first several times, it was weird. It's like, and then you know what? After I did it for a couple of weeks, something just happened. And I would begin, if I got nervous about my cancer or whatever, I would begin to think, no, 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 no. They're on the cells are in the leaves. They're fading
Mm.
away. There's no big drama. There's no big huge thing. It just goes away. It just fades away. There's not a bunch of anger. There's not a big fight. It's just gone. And
Nice.
so that helped me a lot. That those two were the two meditations, and they're only like, 10 minutes each maybe, but that's what got me going. Um, and then spirituality, from a Christian standpoint, I would listen to teachings about people that had gotten healed, the miracles that were in the Bible, and things that had happened today, and testimonies of people. And I had to cut out the negative stuff that was influencing me. So, limit myself to the news. Um,
Mm.
I had a roommate, flatmate that was quite a toxic person, and I just kind of had to get to the point where I just couldn't spend time with them because the negativity was brushing off on me, and I had enough to fight, I had enough to deal with. So those are kind of some of the things that I used, and So what happened, back to the story a little bit. We beat the cancer, and I still had the infection. So I found a doctor here. We eradicated the infection, and the reason that we did that is because I wasn't going to give up on walking again. I saved my life, so to speak, for my parents. That was my motivation. That was my why. That was my strong reason. I couldn't die on my parents. And and then so for me, I want to walk again. This is for me. And I went to doctors all over the country.
So when you
And
came back to the US, you were not
yeah,
walking yet. Okay.
no, 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 no. I still had the cancer. I still had the infection and everything. So I was going all over the country. I was trying to, I was talking to doctors, and they just wouldn't do anything. Like they either said the infection is too much. You've had this. It's gone, but we it's too risky. And this is actually a prototype of my hip. Okay, to give you an idea, this is what my hip looked like. I mean, look, that's the hip, that's the spine. There's nothing there. There's nothing to
Yeah.
bolt anything to.
Uh-huh.
So I eventually found a doctor through my network here in Arkansas. And this is the thing. This is why I know God was involved. I had already been to Mayo Clinic. I had already seen doctors at Mayo. They told me no. My orthopedic advisor here said, "Look, a guy graduated under me, and he specializes in knees and hips that no one else will do. I'm sending you a referral to see him. I think he can do something." Okay, and so just to give you an idea, with this thing, okay, even though I got to keep my leg, there's only like 4 or 5% of people that aren't like permanently disabled, like in a wheelchair, on a walker, or something like that. It's just like it's like just a handful of percentages of people that can even like put pressure on their leg or bend over or anything. And I have been working, man. I have been in the gym. I have been going to the PT. I've been doing my yoga. I have been, I wanted to be in shape and be ready. So this guy put together a plan, and we did it's a 3-part surgery. That the first one was kind of a prep surgery and clean out. Then the second one was they put in the largest, most complex hip implant ever done, procedures that have never been attempted, okay, on me. This is the little $1 million piece that holds everything together, okay?
Wow.
And this is how it fits in, okay? So it fits in kind of like that.
It's
You
pretty
can see
cool.
that where the socket would go in. So it's like 9 screws that go across my pelvis into the other side, three or 4 rods going into my backbone. But this is an engineering project on a human being, and so this is what it looks like.
Wow.
Now, just to give you an idea, a comparison, this is what a normal hip implant looks like.
Hmm.
Okay, and so
Interesting.
this is what this one looks like. And back to kind of the mindset and the spirituality. I found a book with this guy that fell off a balcony and broke his neck and said he'd never walk again. And
Mm.
I listened to his book about 7 or 8 times, and eventually he worked and he worked and he got to walk again. And so I'm like, if this guy can do this, I'm going to figure out how to walk. I can do this. I know I can do this. And so I knew I needed some help, though. I had to find the right people on my team. You know, several of the people in New Zealand weren't the right people for my team. I found some people here that wanted to be on my team, that would work with me, that would provide, hopeful and optimistic options and things. So today we are in the middle of that. And this is kind of the size shoe that I wear now. I didn't get all of my length back yet, but I got functionality, I got balance. I'm still on crutches, but I'm just a few months from being off the crutches. And down the road, if I so choose, we can do a bone lengthening procedure to lengthen the femur. So they cut the femur and then they put a little kind of ratchet system in there, and the bone will actually grow. Okay.
Yes.
So that's something down the road potentially, but I know if I stopped here now that I will be walking soon with this shoe, and being a lot closer to the ground is a lot better. So that's a little.
Congratulations. You've come a
Yeah,
long way.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there some of the spiritual things along the way was, I went to a church in New Zealand, and I was in the service, and I was on the corner, and the pastor had come from the back, and he slapped me on the back one day. I've never met him. I don't know him, but I felt this kind of like surge of something, and I'm like, I think this cured my pancreas cancer. Um, but I got the biopsy right, and so then I'm like, oh man, you know. But what happened was, it wasn't time yet. I
Mm.
had to wait and do it on God's time, and God's time was get Trent back here to the States,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say you had to come back to your country.
yeah, and I had to, I don't think I would have found what I needed if I hadn't have been forced to come back here. I don't think I would have gotten the infection in my hip cured. I wouldn't have found this doctor. I mean, if I lived somewhere else, I would have never gotten introduced to this doctor. And I had my parents' pastor one day in the service. He said, this is kind of in the middle of me having the infection and everything, and taking some of the antibiotics. He said, if somebody in here has a hip problem, that's going to be cured. That's going to be gone. I've got a sense. I'm prophesying, and I'm saying that that infection is going to clear up. This guy didn't know. He had no clue, right? He didn't know my story or anything. Well, the next time I show up, I'll tell you what. I'm in the service, and I couldn't. I've lost some feeling in my hip area. I look down, and this thing has totally healed up, totally sealed. You saw the photo of what it looked like. I looked down, and it's kind of like down my leg. The thing had opened up. It had exploded. Okay. And all the fluid and the pus and the everything was coming out. It was so bad that I had to change my clothes. I mean, it was everywhere. Okay. And then like a day later, it happened again. And I'm like, this is not a coincidence. This is not a coincidence. Right. And so, that, and I believe it's that, with, the help that I got from the antibiotics, to clear up the infection. I think that combination got it. I mean, this thing was incurable. I had it 2.5 years. We tried everything. It didn't go away, and, so there was some of those things along my spiritual path that I'm just like, there's too many coincidences for this not to be, and if you don't believe in God, that's
Yeah.
fine. I don't care about that. Believe, you have to
But you have to
believe
be
that there is a
open
higher
when there
power.
is major things, yeah, happening.
There's a
Uh,
higher
it,
power, right? There has to be.
yeah. Even, I mean, I've had situation where, you start to see guidance from the universe, be like, okay, you have to help me with this, and you release and you ask for help. And
Yeah,
whether you believe, in God or in the universe, whatever the name, we all pray and
yeah,
intend to the same thing. And it's interesting when you start to see responses. And some
exactly.
people will be like, oh, it's a coincidence. And I'm like, sure, you can call it that. I call it like, the universe trying to go incognito, when there's a
Yeah,
coincidence and not
sure.
necessarily just so it's interesting. I'm curious to know how your spiritual and your faith
Yeah.
changed, before, while, and now, how it evolved, through that experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, through the years, right? There was some time, before this happened that, I doubted, is there really a God? I mean, this Bible book, is it for real? Is this, I mean, I think we all go through those things, that you just question. And, I had been in that situation, but I just firmly believe that, and I mean, there's so much more, right? I've had two pulmonary embolisms that could have killed me. Okay. I've had two massive chronic infections that very well I could have gotten sepsis and killed me.
Mm.
I've had like 14 major surgeries. I've all these things that have happened. I'm just like, I'm still here, and I'm here for a reason. And I think my reason, I think that, you know, there, a lot of people question, why did God let that happen to you? Well, and that's a question that I had to answer. And for me, the way that is, you know, the deal with the devil and Satan and God is, The earth is the battleground, and Satan is ruler over the earth, and he has a lot of control. But the thing is, God gave us a way out, right? That if you believe in Him, that you can go to heaven, and that's the way out. So I believe that it's just the laws of the universe and it's the laws of the world that bad things happen. But I believe that God gave me a way out, and He gave me a way out because He wants me to go and tell my story to provide inspiration and hope to people. And I don't think my job's done. And so, that's what I'm moving towards. And I kind of, I like to help people kind of in a patient advocate kind of way. And I try to teach them tools and things they can use to navigate the healthcare system, to help them do that, to do it themselves. No one cares about your life more than you do. No one is going to pay as much attention to your life more than you. And the doctors are there and they're there to help us, but they're humans too, right?
Yeah.
You have to be on top of it. And the mindset for me changed a little. It changed, and I took this on like, this is my responsibility. This is my job. And I had to approach this in a systematic manner, right? And you have to follow up. You have to check on these guys. You have to verify. There's all these things. And, I just had to, instead of, just receiving this information all the time and taking it, these guys are a part of my decision process. I'm in control. And an analogy that I that worked well for me was it was so intense with this game of life. People talk about the game of life, right? And there are 4 or 5 other times that they had done, scans and stuff. And they're like, Trent, we think you may have cancer again. I just can't tell you how many times that I beat this thing. They would go in and do a biopsy and they'd say, well, you don't have it this time, right? I mean, it's just, it's crazy. And so it was just the ups and downs and ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And I turned it into a bit of a game. And if you live in the States, the most popular sport is American football gridiron. And so for me, I was the quarterback. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm calling the plays. My team, I chose the people on my team, my friends, right? And my coaches are my counselor or the people, my mentors or who I go to help me make decisions. And on the other side, my opponent is the cancer, right? And, you're not going to make yardage on every play. You're not going to make a touchdown every play. But if you keep just tacking along, just little by little, step by step, you're going to get a first down. And you know what? Maybe you called a bad play. Maybe you made a bad decision. Maybe you got sacked. But that's okay. You got another play. And if you get to this point, then you get a whole new set of downs. You get to start over. And for me, my touchdowns were, let's beat the cancer, let's beat the infection, and let's walk again. And so that helped me. And, if you get tired, I mean, we all do, right? You get tired, you need a timeout. Go to the sideline, take a break. And that's what I would do.
Or do a meditation.
Yeah, exactly. I at the end of the day, I would go home and relax and, and yeah, so.
Is that the advice you would give to people listening to you that are having like, a health challenges right now? What would be the message, for us to close today, that you can give
Yeah,
to the
sure.
people that are going through that?
Well, I think a couple of things. Just to reiterate, the doctors are practicing medicine. Okay, that's why it's called a medical practice. They aren't perfect. They're not the experts. So you have to keep that in mind. And these guys are giving you their best guess, right? They're giving you the knowledge that they have based on the patients that they've had. And so they try to kind of put people into certain categories and certain buckets, right? But everybody's unique and they only know you for 10 or 15 minutes, right? They see you for 10 or 15 minutes. You have to make it count, but you should use that as a part of your choice, of your decision. The other thing is, you know what? If you never give up and you never quit, you never lose. You never lose. And, I mean, I was facing death and I thought, you know what? I'm just not going to give up until my last breath. I'm going to go out with my dignity. I'm going to go out being respected. That this guy, you know, took this on head on, and he faced it. And and if he's gone, well, you know what? He did his best. And hey, put it on his tombstone. He fought till his last breath, and I reconciled with that. I was okay with that. If that's
Mm.
what was the outcome, well, that's what's going to be. I'm going to a better place. Um, so I would just say, and you know what, you have a goal out there. You have something, but for me, it's about the little wins, right? It's like break it down just to today, and break it down. And sometimes, like, I couldn't even get out of the bed. I couldn't touch my toes. I was in bad, bad shape. And I would have to just do little things like, Trent, you just got to get up and put your clothes on. And then I would say, see, it wasn't as bad as you thought. And I talk to myself
Mhm.
out loud, self talk. And don't think it to yourself, say it to yourself, because something happens. I can't explain it. But something happens. Your decisions direct your put you in a direction to fulfill your destiny. And so if you're just little by little, and at the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, did I win today or did I not? And if I did, okay, good job. Let's do a little better. You can do just a little bit more than you did yesterday, and start to change that compass and that dial to where you can actually turn this thing all the way around. And
I
so,
like that.
and then it's like, well, what did you do? If you didn't do something you weren't supposed to do, okay, well, what can you do? Like, if I made a bad diet choice, I didn't go over the top on everything. I took things, I did, I don't eat just a vegan diet. I have some of everything. I just think it's about balance and moderation and small wins, and little by little by little, you will get there. And so it's a daunting task to think I've got a 5% chance. How am I going to beat this? Well, I'm going to win today. And if I win
I
today,
appreciate your story so much because
yeah,
you are able to give hope. I'm hoping anyway that that's what people will feel when they're
yeah,
hearing your story, and it feels like the advice that you're giving. If you have faith in God as a Christian, then you can relate. But if you don't even believe in anything, you can still relate to trying to improve yourself, trying to use the little
yeah,
wins, trying to talk to yourself is universal. And so I appreciate the openness of your message. No
yeah.
matter where people are coming from in their spiritual journey, they can completely relate to that. So thank you so very much for sharing
Yeah.
that.
My pleasure.
What
My
an
pleasure.
incredible.
I love to be able to come on, and my thing is, if we had one person listen to this and it helped them, or it gave them some hope, or even the thing about, oh well, I better take somebody to a doctor's appointment. I feel like we did our job. I'm
Yes.
happy. And I know. It's just we're going to change the world one person at a time, right?
Amen.
Yes. Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate you
thank
letting
you
me.
again for today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You're
If
welcome back
anybody wanted to
anytime.
get in touch with Yeah. Can I just say, if anybody wanted to get in touch with me, please do. My email address is trentbrock@yahoo.com. I'm happy just to help you along the way. I've got so much experience with the on this side of being a patient. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And my pose is like this. You'll see it, that I'm doing the victory pose because I'm winning. I'm still here, right?
Yes, everyone. I'll make sure to put his email address and our contacts in the description below. So yeah, if you want to keep the conversation or have more question or guidance that you
Cool.
want to seek from Trent, you can get it. Thanks again for today. I wish you a wonderful journey ahead, and I wish please let me know when you're walking. I want to see a photo and I want to share it with everybody.
No problem. No problem. We're all ready for that, and it's getting close.
All right. You take care of yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really
Bye.
appreciate it. Okay. Bye
Oh
bye.
yeah. And that's it for today, guys. As this episode is coming to an end, I would like to take a second to extend boundless gratitude to Trent for entrusting us with the mosaic of his extraordinary journey. And to you, our treasured listeners, Thank you so much for embarking on this voyage of discovery and hope with me. If Trent's remarkable story has touched a chord within you and you're hungering for more narratives that transform and transcend, I invite you to press the follow button. Be the first to witness our upcoming lineup of amazing guests that I have coming up. We will continue to defy the conceivable and go deeper in our reflections and bring a banquet of breakthrough and breadcrumbs up to enlightenment. If you're looking for more and to go deeper in your self exploration, I have amazing offerings for you. You have the links right below. I will be more than happy to help you. And as we shared during our interview, if you have questions and want to keep the conversation going with Trent or with me, we're always available through our DMs or through email. So feel free to reach out. All the links are listed down below. Thank you again so much for gracing us with your presence. And may today's exchange with Trent resonate within you, reminding you that the human spirit is boundless and that within you breathes the same resilience, really does, and the potential for greatness. So journey on with fortitude, nurture your resilience, and remember, your story is only beginning.